I've always been a fan of diagrams as code tools like PlantUML or Structurizer or Mermaid. But I think with the increase of usage of coding assistants, we realize that we can do much more with these formats. Coding assistants are really good at creating textual formats, and if you specify a format and tools for validation, you can actually get a lot out of coding assistants, things that are much harder to get from by integrating through MCP or other types of tools. So in this video, what I want to do is to show you one example of such a tool that transforms Markdown to a story map. So let's get started. Welcome back to Think Design Work Smart. I'm Alex Bolbak and I'm coming at you from the Mosaic Work Studios, and today I want to talk about this tool that I created a few months ago. I think it was in February. It was actually vibe coded. It's on Python packages on PyPI.org. If you are searching for Storymap, it's Storymap by Mosaic Works. And it's a very simple tool that allows you to get a Markdown file in this format, which has a restricted format. And what you can do with it is to turn this into this visualization. So this is the sample result. You have the Acme platform, version, description. You have releases. You can open and close the releases. You have a description of personas that you can open and close again. And then you have the actual story map that's split into MVP, beta, and GA. GA in this case, it's general availability release, was described here. You have the releases. And you have the various stories. And if you click on actually, we can click on overview just to see the general description. If you click on map, you see more detail. If you click on detail, you see even more details. And you can pick a release in focus, so not planned yet. You can look at the MVP release. And if you want, you can have a story lens where if you click on one of the stories, it will open it up for you so that you can see it in more detail. So if I'm going back to, let's say, all releases map, and I click here, I can see the information slightly better. And as you can see, it also has a status. His story has in progress, not started, done, whatever, blocked. So how did we do that? And there are some links that it should, some images it should include. I haven't generated it now, so I think it's not quite working, but it should show them if you're doing it by yourself. But anyway, what you have is a nice document, actually. And it's a Markdown document. So if you turn this into a PDF file, you will get a normal PDF with these things as headers and the different descriptions in between. So it's a document that you can actually read like a product roadmap, but you can also turn into a visualization, an interactive visualization. So the Format is based on these tags between square brackets. Well, for example, releases, they have an ID and two columns. So it's ID MVP, ID unplanned, ID beta, ID GA. Margin the manager, personas. These are defined as being in the personas heading. And then you have map with the various stories. And here you have, for example, the story create account, and you can add these attributes: status done, persona Nina, the new user. You can have a deadline with a date in year, month, day, format, and a release associated with it. And based on that, this is all the information the format needs in order to place these blocks in the right spots here. Because there are some steps, and you have the various stories with their respective statuses. Okay, and how did we do that? If you want to see the full documentation, you go to Storymap on PyPI.org. You can see that you have a command line tool that does Storymap init, which creates a skeleton Storymap. You can run Storymap render to create the HTML folder. You can also render into a different folder. And by default, it uses CSS and so on. So the HTML is self-contained. You don't need to add anything to it. It has minimal JavaScript. I'm not even sure it has JavaScript. I don't remember. And you just need to follow a few rules to do that. And in case you want to get a PDF file that represents the same story map, you just do print from the story map, and it applies the print styling in order to generate a nice PDF file trying to fit in everything that's in there. And then you can change a bunch of stuff like the colors that are used, and if you want to change the template, the HTML template in which you want to generate, and so on. So this is an example of a tool that you can very easily create using an AI assistant. I just vibe coded this because, first of all, it's a low stakes tool. We don't need to encrypt anything. We are not sending anything. We are not publishing this tool anywhere so that it's available for online calls. It's something that you install locally, run locally, and that's it. And it turns off file format into another file format. Low stakes is something that you can do for your own needs. It is, and I could test it based on the format, right? So I added all kinds of things in the format and made sure that they are working. And of course, there could still be some issues with it, but once it's more used than it is now, we'll figure that out. And the thing with this type of tools is that, again, the format type is very easily generated with a coding assistant. I defined the format with Claude through conversations. And then we generated the code again with Claude based on the specification and based on the examples. And we took a slightly wrong turn at some point because initially I picked a different format for the attributes. It didn't quite work. We needed to rework that. But all in all, I think it took about 1 day or less than a day of working with the AI coding assistant, with Claude in this case, to make this happen. And now we have a tool for product management that we can use to visualize the story map, which is both roadmap and status. We can see which things are done, which are still in progress, which are blocked. And we can also see the things that we need to do and what are our iterations, how we define those, and so on. Well, all in all, very useful tool, and just from a simple Markdown format, which you can turn and visualize in a nice way through a self-contained HTML file. And I think we can do more of this. For example, another one that I was thinking about was threat model. Currently, we don't have a standardized way of visualizing threat models, but I think it would be nice to have a standardized way which matches, once again, Markdown files. Markdown is a really useful format for this kind of tools. And then maybe you want to visualize something else in your system. There are all kinds of diagrams, all kinds of specific tools that you can build for your own code and for your own products, and it's not that difficult nowadays. You just need to define a format with your coding assistant and then use the same coding assistant to generate it. And remember, it's a low stakes thing. If it works 90% of the time, great. If it fits your specific problem, great. It doesn't have to work for every potential problem. And this is an example of that I think it's not used enough, of creating tools that are really helpful for you. I created this tool to use in our various workshops. And if other people are using them, that's great. Why not? But it's really useful in some of our workshops to visualize what product are we building, what's the level of it. And another thing that's really good is that once you specify this, and actually this distribution includes skills for Claude in order to create story maps. So you just drop that skill into your Claude Code folder or inside your Claude setup. And then when you ask it to generate a story map, it will know to use this format. And you can, through conversation, build a story map and then visualize it. And this is all possible because we are working with Markdown, which is a format that is well known by Claude. And you could do the same things with MCP and Jira. And something that, I know there's a plugin for Jira that shows story maps and so on. But honestly, this is so much simpler, and it doesn't have to go through so many hoops. And if you noticed, you can also add links to Jira inside the description of the stories. And yeah, maybe additional extensions if you want to get the Jira status is something you can do post-render or pre-render and then show that status. There are all kinds of things that you can do, and it makes things much easier. So what I really want to tell you with all this is that AI assistants enable creation of products, project, code base specific tools. Don't be afraid to use them. Don't be afraid to create tools. Use standard formats like Markdown, which is well known by the coding assistants. And this gives you a very powerful combination of things that you can generate in Markdown, then turn into a visual representation that fits something that you really want to see. Historically, this has been an issue. It used to be difficult to do this. Right now, my best guess is you can probably do this in half a day with your coding assistant if you know exactly what you want to achieve. Tools are really great. And let's start using more tools for our products and low-stake tools like this. What do you think about this? Have you created your own specific tools using AI coding assistants? Let us know in the comments. Thank you kindly for the view, and until next time, remember to think, design, and work smart. See you next Saturday.